Greeting everyone, it is a rainy, cloudy, messy afternoon here for some Georgia Public Radio. And man, it is late. It's a lot later on Friday than I wish it was headed home. But you know, sometimes it just be like that and you have a late day of work because the PLC just doesn't work the way you want it to. Or should I say the motor it's attached to. And it's probably the wires in between. But hey, get done when you need to get done. You get home when you get home, unfortunately, sometimes. But anyways, another day. Man, it's been rainy. It's going to keep raining all the time, at least for the next couple days. Really sucks. There's going to be one of the few chances I have to go out into the woods and go hunt this season. But hey, if it rains on me, it rains on me. It is what it is. But let's jump into some GPB.
And engaged audiences everywhere. From the New York Times, I'm Rachel Abrams, and this is The Daily.
You're in The Daily.
It's been nearly 2 years since Hamas carried out its deadly attacks on Israel on October 7th,
and
Israel began its bombardment of Gaza. Since then, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza has only worsened, and Hamas is still holding hostages. But the images of Palestinian suffering have lately fueled international pressure on Israel to end the war and push Western powers to recognize the Palestinian state. This culminated last week at the United Nations, where a group of world leaders formally recognized Palestinian statehood, which deepened Israel's isolation. But just a week later, a new peace plan, unveiled by President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, underscored the reality that Palestinian statehood is a long way off. Today, the optimism and the fury of this moment, and what this recognition actually means. It's Friday, October 3rd. Jess Chung, you are one of the producers on our show, and last week you spent time on the ground at the UN to document this historic moment in which the question of Palestinian statehood was really front and center. So, talk to us a little bit about what you were there to capture.
Well, what we've seen recently is a push by a number of Western countries, like the UK, France, Australia, and Canada, to formally recognize the Palestinian state as a way to put pressure on Israel to end the war. Now,
and the genocide.
Over 140 countries have
I feel like I need to tack that on every time, because yes, there's the conflict, but more importantly, it's the genocide, the starvation.
Israel and the US, who say what this is going to do is reward Hamas for its terrorism on October 7th. So it was going to be a huge moment, and I wanted to capture that. Particularly through the eyes of this one guy, Riyad Mansour. Mansour is the Palestinian ambassador to the UN, and he's worked toward this moment for pretty much his entire life. I meet him in the gardens of the UN in Midtown Manhattan. This was all before the big meeting was set to take place. He's dressed in a suit, he's got a small Palestinian flag pinned on his lapel. And how long have you been serving in this role?
In September, 20 years straight.
Mansour is in his late 70s, and he's been representing Palestinians here for decades. How does it feel to have these countries now on board?
It feels very great that the international community is making a turn where now having the state of Palestine a reality. So
this is the closest we've ever been
in the direction of
since the Zionist project
because he's been
took
for so
hold.
long. Mansour seems to be a kind of fixture in this place. The UN has long been a fixture in his life too.
I was born in Palestine, a child of a Palestinian refugee family.
Mansour spent his childhood in Ramallah, in the West Bank.
And we lived in caves and in the valleys before UNRWA came to the picture.
His family was among the hundreds of thousands of Palestinians who were expelled or fled from their homes amid the wars surrounding the creation of the State of Israel in 1948, a period known to Palestinians as the Nakba.
What was in our mind is we want to return to our towns, to our villages, to our homes. It's like the key for our house in Palestine, from the town where we were expelled from, was hanging inside the house. So that's a symbol of returning to it.
In the 1950s, Mansour's father immigrated to the U.S. He took a job as a steel worker in Youngstown, Ohio. Mansour was around 17 years old when he followed his father here. He went on to study at Youngstown State. Throughout college, he was politically active. He started speaking out against Israel's occupation in the West Bank, in Gaza, trying to raise awareness of Palestinian rights. And then, in 1974, Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat was invited to speak at the UN for the first time, where he made an appeal to the international community for a Palestinian state. Mansour organized 3 buses of people to drive from Ohio to New York for the event.
And I was among the lucky ones to go to the United Nations to shake hands with Chairman Arafat.
Palestinians were talking about statehood. And a decade later, Mansour would take a job at the UN and keep pushing for the same goal. For years, Mansour worked through cycles of Palestinian intifadas and militancy, Israeli retaliation and expanding settlements, new wars, new ceasefires, new peace agreements, like the Oslo Accords, which were seen as the closest the international community came to resolving the conflict. But in the end, they didn't achieve what they set out to.
The same thing after October 7th.
When Hamas, in a surprise attack, killed 1,200 people and kidnapped about 250 others, pictures emerged of the destroyed kibbutz, videos of hostages being carried away on the backs of motorcycles and trucks driven by militants, stories of people shot in their homes and trapped in burning buildings. All of it shocked the world.
There were sympathies in the first few days with the families of the victims.
But after Israel launched the war against Hamas in Gaza, as that war entered its second year, with more than 60,000 Palestinians dead and the humanitarian situation worsening, people around the world also saw those pictures and heard those stories, including Mansour, who described what he was seeing in Gaza to the United Nations Security Council this spring.
The images of mothers embracing their motionless bodies, caressing their hair, talking to them, apologizing to them. It's unbearable. How could anyone tolerate this love? Excuse me, Mr. President.
It was around that time that Mansour said he felt things began to shift.
It created a tremendous amount of support and empathy and solidarity with the Palestinian people. Now the international community, enough is enough.
C'est pourquoi je déclare que la France reconnaît aujourd'hui l'État de Palestine.
Beneath the emblem of the United Nations to confirm the historic decision of the British government to recognise the state of Palestine.
Portugal formally recognised the state of Palestine.
A two-state solution.
Australia recognised the state of Palestine.
Canada recognises the state of Palestine. Doesn't mean it announces the recognition of the state of Palestine. And that is why Ireland last year, with Spain, Norway and Slovenia, recognised the state of Palestine. And now more than 65,000 people killed in Gaza. Most of them women and children. Horrifically, more than 20,000 of them children. It's about over many decades. We have reached a point where what has been credibly described as a genocide is being carried out in front of the eyes of the world.
Statehood is the inalienable right of the Palestinian people, and the 2 states is the only path to security and lasting peace for Israelis.
Israel denies many of these allegations and strongly refutes the accusation of genocide. The Israeli delegation didn't come to the meeting. Their seats stayed empty. But Mansour was moved to tears.
It's a historic day.
He kept holding up this analogy, apartheid in South Africa. He said it was Western countries putting pressure on South Africa that helped end apartheid. So Mansour says he sees this moment as a turning point for statehood. But this moment has also been controversial.
What do you say to those who see this recognition as rewarding Hamas for its terrorism?
Mansour told me he thinks that's the wrong way to look at it.
That doesn't make sense. All of them, they were doing it as an investment in peace and harmony.
Mansour said Palestinian statehood is not a prize for attacking Israel. He told me it's about the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people to have a state of their own. And that was made clear as the following days unfolded. After the break, my colleague Mark Landler on what this recognition means without the support of Israel and the United States.
The Daily is supported by Seed. Seed's DS01.
I want Mr. Mansour to speak. I want to interject while he was giving his story, giving his life, giving everything that he loves for his fellow man, his fellow people, those who've had their land stolen from them for the last 80 years, those that have been terrorized by the Zionist project, and to be genocided with the full backing of the governments that call themselves the moral West. It's disgusting, but at the same time, it's beautiful. It's disgusting how our governments have supported such evil, but it's beautiful of how the Palestinian people have resisted, have survived, have held each other up, and have shared their stories. So everyday people of the world, of our nation, of our state, recognize the true evil that they are placed under, and the true bravery and heroism that they hold as they try and just keep their lives together on the land they've been living on for thousands of years, from being taken away from effectively European invaders who use their religion and their ethnicity to try and have some racial grandstanding over the native population of Palestine. And that shit's fucking gross. So, we'll keep it there for the day. Won't be able to finish up this daily segment by the New York Times. I'm surprised the New York Times is covering this. I mean, I guess they're kind of forced to at this point, just because of how much backlash there's been against these protectors and shielders of genocide. And the New York Times has done plenty of that on their own. But yeah, we're going to head into a good weekend. I'm going to check up on how the strikes were across Europe. I know there were protests yesterday and throughout the night in Paris and Italy and Berlin and London. All beautiful things, all normal people like you and me who care about our fellow men and women and children. Like you and me, I care about my kid. I don't want my kid to be killed by some artillery strike, by some drone, by some quadcopter with a machine gun attached to it. And we shouldn't want that for people anywhere in the world, especially those that have been effectively generationally tortured for the last almost century. Keep that in mind, stay strong, spread the word that Israel is committing a genocide, and that the only way to stop this is to band together as people against our governments that are complicit with this evil. You all have a good weekend.